Welcome to The Local Lens, the podcast that brings the South Dakota community together. I'm Jamie Forrest, your host and your local realtor, here to showcase what makes our region a fantastic place to live. Join me as we explore vibrant local culture, highlight community events, and provide valuable insights for homeowners. Whether you're a current resident or considering a move, The Local Lens is your go-to source for everything in South Dakota. Let's discover, connect, and thrive together. Welcome to the show. Hi, welcome. I'm Jamie Forrest with The Local Lens. I'm happy to introduce my guest today, Cheri St. Pierre. She has lived in South Dakota a good part of her life and knows the Black Hills inside and out. She is also licensed in Wyoming and Montana, so if you know anybody over there, she can definitely help them out with their real estate needs. And she has over 24 years of experience in the real estate industry, so can't wait to pick her brain on how things have changed. She is an award-winning rock star and achieving multi-million-dollar sales in the real estate industry. And outside of real estate, previously, she has been a nationally ranked competitive skier. How cool is that? So she brings that competitive spirit to her real estate work. Welcome to The Local Lens, Cheri.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. So let's dive in. Everybody has a story. So what is your story that led you to pursue a career in real estate? And how did some of your background lead you down that path?
Oh gosh, let's see. Well, I went to school for educational psychology and counseling. I moved back actually in the eastern part of the state and then moved back to western South Dakota, in 98, and looked for a job for about a year. Ended up waiting tables for a while, which was probably honestly one of the best things for me and for this field, honestly. I'm typically a very shy, quiet person, which doesn't necessarily go along with real estate. Yeah. So waited tables for about a year, and then I went to interview for counseling. What I didn't understand is that people didn't know what play therapy was in western South Dakota. Around the country, it was very popular, but around here, it wasn't known yet. And so getting a job was very difficult, which that's what led me to real estate. So I liked the process of buying my house and thought, well, maybe I should give that a try, which I don't know what I was thinking. Because like I said, I was a super shy person. Anyway.
Same way, yeah.
So let's see, I took the classes, which at the time was only 40 hours, and thought I was going to fail the test, honestly, because I was busy with my 3 kids at home, didn't know how I was going to pass this test, but went and took it and I passed. So I was like, well, now what?
Mm-hmm.
I found the company that I felt had the most education as far as training and things like that for real estate, because you don't learn that much in 40 hours of education, and now it's more, but it's still not a lot. I think it's, what is it now, 160 hours?
160. And I truly don't think they teach you what you really need to know to be an agent.
No. No. I mean, you definitely go over ethics and morals, and that's definitely very important, for sure. There's important things in that 160 hours, but you don't learn how to sell a house. You don't know how to show a house. You don't learn how to do an open house. You just don't learn any of those things. So now I have a license and I'm like, now what? So like I said, I joined a company that at the time had probably the most education in our area. That's what I had heard anyway. And so I joined them and jumped in, and it was scary. I mean, one of the office managers then encouraged me to follow Tom and Mike Ferry. And so I did that, and I got on the phone and started calling people, and I hated it.
Yeah.
I would literally have to count to 3 at least every time I started calling. 1, 2, 3, okay, pick up the phone and go, but I did it. And I mean, we needed an income. So yeah, within the first 6 months, I had like 3 or 4 listings.
That's
because I was just calling the streets. I'd sit in the sales meeting and I would listen to who had buyers for an area, and I would call. It's a little harder now with the do not call list, but there's a lot of people you can call. And a lot of what I did, I wasn't like the cold, hard salesperson, just calling, getting information, talking about an open house, things like that. So
how do you think, you have that psychology and counseling background, how do you think that helped you build those relationships with your clients during that time and even now?
Let's see. Well, for sure, it just, even in my listening skills, sometimes I'm told I make too much eye contact, like I'm reading their soul, and I'm not trying to read their soul, but I'm listening. And that's definitely something I gained from counseling. There's all kinds of skills you gain from counseling, learning to negotiate. I would negotiate with people on how their day was going and how to look at it differently, So the negotiation skills, the listening skills, all of that goes along with real estate. To me, that is the biggest part of real estate is your heart. You have to have a heart. You have to listen. You have to hear these people
Get
and
down to the true
remember,
reason.
and if you
Yeah.
can't remember, you better take notes. I'm really good at remembering,
Mhm.
but I don't remember everything either. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What would you say have been the biggest changes that you've seen in real estate in the 24 years? And then where do you see things going here in the next couple of years?
Oh gosh, I started before they had any kind of MLS on the computer. We had MLSs, but it was
Mhm.
all on paper. And so right about the time I was starting in 2000, they still had books. And so each week they printed a book. I think it was each week. It might have been every month. I can't remember for sure. You'd get a book, and that's how often your MLS came out. And then it went to all of a sudden we had, I don't remember what it was called, but we could download it. So you get to the office and you go to your computer and you hit download. And 45 minutes later, you'd have all the new listings for the day. It might not have taken that long, but it took quite a while.
Yeah.
This was still
Yeah.
dial up. It was still,
Little.
craziness. So
Oh.
we drink coffee and chat or make calls while you're waiting for that to download. Yeah.
Well, and you probably did have to connect with other agents a lot more. Hey, did you have
Yeah.
anything new come on? I'm looking, and ask them, I'm looking for this, more interactive with agents. I mean, buyers are definitely more proactive now because they can see what's out there,
Oh,
right
yeah. I mean, it's
then.
at their fingertips now, where it wasn't before. They would wait for the journal to print everything out every week. Every month, there was the Rapid City Journal would put out a big publication. So all our listings, you'd try to have them in there. It costs you a lot of money. So
Mhm.
the marketing has definitely changed. You can market and spend a lot less money and reach a lot more people via
Mhm.
the internet. So, you know, that definitely has changed. And like you said, they are much more savvy. They know what's out there. They've been watching the market. It's changed drastically. And when I started too, if someone called me and said, I'm looking for a $40,000 house, well, it's gonna be difficult, but we'll probably find something.
Yeah,
Now,
big time.
it's a
Yeah.
drastic change from that.
Oh
Mhm.
gosh, yes. Oh, 100%. 100%. And I feel like the rules have tightened with lenders, with insurance agents, on all of those things
Mhm.
affecting what people can purchase. So
Yeah.
it's been a big change. So what are you seeing for trends out there in the Black Hills market?
Oh gosh, let's see. We have land investors, so we have people looking for land that'll buy a lot and hope to build someday. We still have a lot of that. It has slowed down a little bit the last couple of years as far as land goes, for sure. It kind of did in '07 and '08 to '09 when everything was real tight. Our market here slowed down. Land sales almost dropped through the floor, but land values went through the floor. Now they've come back. I mean, and are much stronger than they were then, of course, but that has slowed a little bit. But then we have a lot of vacation rental buyers. There's still definitely a market. For that, I listed a house yesterday, or no, Wednesday, and we have had a lot of calls for people wanting to have a vacation rental or buy it now and move here in a few years. So they vacation
Right.
rental it while they're waiting,
Right.
Mhm.
So if somebody in Aberdeen here wanted to get a vacation home out there, what would be some things you would recommend for them to kind of look for?
Try not to spend too much, of course, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what we all want, but you don't need the biggest house in the fanciest neighborhood to have a vacation rental. And a nice neighborhood is nice, yes.
Right.
Quiet neighborhood, and then you have to encourage your renters to be quiet as well, though. But I see a lot of people buying these big, huge houses. Well, then you end up having a lot of big, huge parties.
That is true.
You rent it for more, but they'll pay more because, at $100 a night per couple, that's cheaper than a hotel, and they can still
Mhm.
cook their meals.
Yeah.
So I recommend 3 to 5 bedrooms tops for me. Otherwise, it just gets to be too much. I try not to have them sleep too many people because again, I feel like anything past 12 turns into a party. Unless occasionally you'll have like a family and they have their grandkids and a couple extra little kids. So they might end up with 14 people, but 6 of them are little kids. So that's definitely gonna be loud, but loud on a different scale.
Right. So we obviously know like places like Deadwood, Sturgis, some of those big name places that the Verbos are doing very well. Are there any hidden gem areas that you think people should look at that are kind of maybe up and coming and maybe a lot of people don't know their beauty and everything that it has to offer?
Well, definitely Terry Peak. Everybody knows that's busy as well. And then you have your winter rentals. So anything by Terry Peak is good. But honestly, like Custer, you don't have the Terry Peak winter traffic, but there's summer traffic makes up for the winter traffic on the other ones, quite honestly. And then you don't have as much use in the winter. So I'd say that's a wash.
Yeah.
Um, and
It's
then
probably
Hill City
cheaper
has
over there, too.
it's a little bit cheaper. Yeah, yeah, it is. And you can get a little bigger lot. That's what's nice too. Up by Terry Peak, those are half-acre lots. You're real close to the neighbors. But yeah, certain areas you have to be outside of city limits. So Custer and Hill City don't allow vacation rentals in town. And so yeah, you have to be a little bit out of town. So then you're on like a bigger lot, like I said, and the Hill City property does great. Even that one rent well, I have a couple there, but anyway, one of them I'm thinking of rents through Christmas and not Valentine's, but New Year's,
Yeah.
and stays busy till about then, and then it's kind of quiet from January to March, April, and then May we start picking up again. And I think part of that is, well, one, older people start traveling soon. We have pretty good weather here in May, and then also we have a lot of graduations and things like that, so people
Yeah.
come stay up for those.
Sure. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's switch gears just a little bit. I just want to pick your brain on some advice for our people out there. What's one or two things that you think every seller should do before they list their house, and maybe one or two things that you see people waste their time on when they're listing their house?
Let's see, one or two things. Well, a big thing is your front door. That's the first thing you see when you walk in. So if your door's all dented up and scratched and peeling paint and things like that, and your lock doesn't work and the realtor's trying to fumble with it, and your clients are standing behind you waiting, it's not a good thing. They get a bad first impression right off the bat. So
Mhm.
make your front entrance, kind of draw people in, make the door nice. You can do that relatively cheaply, especially if the door's not dented and just needs paint.
Yeah,
Sand it, paint it.
I like
Yeah.
that one.
What?
I like that one. That's a good tip.
Yeah. So that's really important. And also, like, as you walk in, a lot of people kick their shoes off, things are scuffing the walls. Touch those walls up right as you walk in. Your first impression is important. And then your kitchen, declutter everything. It makes it look so much bigger. So, like, take everything off your refrigerator. And if you take pictures, like, I used to take my own photos. We didn't used to have photographers out taking our photos.
Yeah.
You took and cleared off your fridge and then cleared off your countertops, but take pictures before and after, even yourself as your homeowner will be amazed. It's crazy what that does. And then you probably won't put things on your fridge anymore. It
Mhm.
just looks so much cleaner, even though it's nice having those memories there and everything. But so those are my two like really important things as far as get those really presentable, because those are you spend most of your time in the kitchen, don't you? I mean, a lot of people do.
It's a big selling point, that common area
Mhm.
kitchen. Yeah, kitchen, living room. Now it's so always seems like most of them are open concept most of the time. So it's
Yeah.
all in
Yeah.
one. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, and then as far as biggest waste, let's see. Gosh, that is a tough one. Because I don't feel like really anything is a waste. Yeah.
Sometimes, like, depending on what the remodel is, sometimes the remodels are not worth it, right before you
Yeah.
list, depending on what it is.
Well, yeah,
It's a case by case basis on that.
definitely. And you definitely don't, if you're looking to sell, go neutral. Don't put funny colors in. I had one years ago that I went in and I said, okay, we have to get rid of this flowered wallpaper along the wall. And they did, but they painted the wall pink. And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh no. But we went with it. I didn't say anything after that. I felt like I had already done enough. I had a hard time back then telling people you need to change this. Because I feel bad. They loved it. But what you love doesn't mean necessarily someone else will love it. So go neutral if you're getting ready to sell, for sure.
A
Uh,
100%.
yeah.
All right, so switching over to our buyers, what are some things that you think are important for them to consider when choosing their home?
Things to consider. Well, of course, location. That's definitely something. Like busy streets are tougher. You don't need to buy the fanciest house in the fanciest neighborhood to make money. I mean, that's definitely, I think some people do that. And then when you go to sell it, you can't get your money back if you're the
Mhm.
highest price house in the neighborhood. But if you're a lower price house in the neighborhood and you fix it up and you maintain it, you can make some good money.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm all about the bones. If the bones are good, if the foundation,
Yeah.
roof,
Mhm.
windows, are good, some of those big money, things that happen. If it's cosmetic work, try to help people look past the cosmetic things that you can change. Like fixtures are fairly cheap to upgrade and change and paint. But yeah, for me, it's like if the bones are good and you like the layout, we can look past the carpet, the gold light fixtures, some of the things
Yeah.
that need updating. So
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of those things you can get done. Yeah. And that's what I tell people too. If so, you'll see some of the like a really unique home and they'll kind of think it's cool. And then you're like, well, you got to think about resale. Oh, but it's our forever home, you know? And for me, especially as a counselor, life changes. Things always happen. I saw so many things happen in 07, 08, 09, 10, dealing with people, trying to help them get out of houses they couldn't sell, foreclosures, things like that I tell people, you don't know what forever is. I wish we did. I wish we had a crystal ball and you knew it was going to be forever. Try to buy with other buyers in mind. So if you can, look for a ranch style home because you have it really opens up your buyers and things like that, or at least have a master on the main, things like that. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's one thing that I've find, at least here, we see a lot of new construction split wires, and I get why they're doing it because it's cheaper, not to go
Mm-hmm.
as far in the ground, less concrete. But I'm like you, as a physical therapist, I used to go into
Mm-hmm.
homes and do home evaluations to see how things are functionally set up. And for me, I know as the population ages, that is not functional. And there's
Yeah.
chair lifts,
Mhm.
there's things like that, but I am with you. I like the ranch style. And I wish we'd see more new construction with that. I think
Yeah.
it'd go over
For
well.
sure, or at least the new construction with the bigger landing. If you're going to do
Yeah.
split level, make a little bit bigger landing. So like you said, if life happens and you need a wheelchair, you have room to put a lift if you need to, because some of those are so tight. I don't know that you'd even have room to do that,
Yep. Yep. Oh
At
yeah. Oh
least keep
yeah.
that in mind. Make it just a little bigger.
Mhm.
You can
Oh
even
yeah.
take your shoes off and not have your butt hanging over the stairs.
100%. 100%. All right. We're getting towards the end. So I want to get into you personally. What are some of your goals in your real estate career, and where do you see yourself going with real estate in the future?
Gosh. Well, I help run our company here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services in Rapid City and Spearfish. And I just love that. I love teaching and helping people grow their businesses. I'm just watching people thrive. And even in, like, I would say this is a little slower market for sure for the past year and a half, maybe. And it's starting to pick up. But watching those people grow and grow during a hard time is really
Right.
fun for me. And I love that. So I want to keep doing that. I want to keep helping people grow their businesses. And then I keep investing for myself. And of course, I want to grow my business and continue growing my income. But for me, I mostly like investing in properties. So I want to grow my portfolio there. And I have a property in Montana and here in Spearfish, and I'd like to grow that even more.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so this is a little more non-real estate orientated, but obviously we all like to vacation and we live in South Dakota and we often go to the hills. What is an overlooked spot that you have found in the Black Hills that everybody should visit on their next vacation? Like a hidden hiking gem or a cool location that maybe we don't know about?
Well, they're all being found. We wanted to keep them all secret.
Right?
But like Devil's Bathtub, I mean, is a fun hike. You do get a little wet most of the time because you're crossing water, I think at least 12 times. That's always been one of my favorite hikes,
Mhm.
but it has gotten pretty busy. So that's a fun one for sure. A Devil's Tower is really overlooked. It's really fun to go out there and see that and walk around Devil's Tower. Trying to think what else. Of course, everyone goes to Mount Rushmore and things like
Right.
that.
All the touristy things that you see signs for. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. But
Yeah.
there's just so many great hikes in the hills that I feel like you can still get out on a trail and not be too crowded for the most part.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. All right, Cheri, can you let everyone know the best way to reach you if they have any further questions?
Let's see. You can reach me at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Midwest Realty. My phone number is 605-390-2481. And our website for our team is hillsrealestateteam.com. Easy to find.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, Cheri, for being here today on the Local Lens. And thank you to all of you out there for watching and taking the time to listen and learn. See you next time.
Thank you. Have a great day.
That wraps up this episode of The Local Lens. Thanks for tuning in and exploring South Dakota with me. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more listeners. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and more community highlights. Until next time, keep discovering, connecting, and thriving.